What's going on, everybody? It's time for another episode of Guns N' Roses True Story, and today we're looking at a Guns N' Roses classic, Double Talkin Jive, off Use Your Illusion 1. Now, if you guys haven't watched this series before, I usually take a really in-depth look at Guns N' Roses' past songs. I've done Coma, Right Next Door to Hell. The last two previous episodes I've looked at the Spaghetti Incident and the Live Era album. Also have another video I've already shot for an unannounced song. It's a Guns N' Roses song they've already done, but I'm not going to tell you what title I'm going to be looking at. But it was requested by one of my fans, so it'll be going up on my channel pretty soon. So let's talk about this song. So it appeared on Use Your Illusion 1, and it was actually written just by Izzy Stradlin himself. And he actually performs lead vocals on Double Talkin Jive, as well as several other songs, including Dust and Bones, 14 Years, You Ain't the First. And, you know, the end of Double Talkin Jive is actually an interesting song because Slash performs an extended flamenco-style Spanish guitar solo. And interestingly enough, live performances of this song were pretty long. Like, the actual song is around 3 minutes in length on the album. And then when Guns would perform it live, it would be more than 8 minutes long. Now, that would be on the Use Your Illusion tour. In Guns N' Roses' new reunion tour they've been doing this year, they've shortened the length of Double Talkin Jive from about 8 minutes to just under 6 minutes from the videos I've seen on YouTube. Now, the first line of the song, Found a Head and an Arm in a Garbage Can, actually refers to a real-life event that happened right next to Guns N' Roses' studio, where a severed head and an arm were actually found in a garbage can by police. This was confirmed by Matt Sorum during a guest appearance on the 2010 show Celebrity Ghost Story. There used to be a clip up on YouTube, but I guess they took it down. And it was also confirmed separately too by Matt Sorum in a separate interview he did a few years later in a cafe where he talked about the origins of the song. So I've linked to the interview where he talks about the origins of the song for a bit. He actually revealed that his drums on Double Talkin Jive were actually nailed in the first take. And it was him, Izzy, Stuff, and Slash in the studio doing the demo at that time for the Illusions records. Now, back to the actual head and the arm in the garbage can. In the Celebrity Ghost Story interview that Sorum did, he said that this probably happened around 96, 97. Matt Sorum and his engineer pal Jim Mitchell had basically went to the recording studio where they did Double Talkin Jive back for the Illusions records, and they booked the studio for a recording session with a band that the drummer liked, and they were spooked by the specter who prompted them to flee. So appearing on the U.S. Celebrity Ghost Story show, the Guns N' Roses star admits the encounter with the angry spirit is one that made him a believer. So as he recalled, he said, "We recorded all of the instruments and the vocals and guitars and whatnot, and at this point of the evening, it was pretty late, about 2 o'clock in the morning. We started recording more lead vocals, and as we were recording, everything sounded fine, and then every time we played back the tape, there was this low kind of rumbling sound. It was almost like a Gregorian kind of chant sound. We were like, what is that? We eventually gave up, and the band took off. Sorum and Mitchell were left alone in the control room listening back to what they'd recorded when the engineer was pushed out of his chair by a mysterious force, which followed him to the restroom." Sorum adds that Mitchell had this white state of shock look on his face, and he said, "I just saw a ghost. The guy walked behind me in the bathroom, and then he disappeared. There was nobody there." He was starting to get really freaked out. "We walked down the hallway to the lounge, and we got to the door, and a voice said, 'Don't come in here, you're not invited.' There was a presence there. Out of the left corner of my eye, I saw this mass of air that looked like a small cloud floating across the room. I put my hand out, and when I touched it, I backed off. It ran up my arm, down my body, until the feeling came to me like ice. We were pretty freaked out, so we made a quick descent to the control room. We packed up, and I thought, I don't think we'll be coming back here because the studio is haunted." Sorum later discovered he wasn't the first star to encounter the studio ghost of the headless dead man who was found in the garbage can in a garbage bag behind the building in 1991. He said they have had clients leave the premises because of strange events, and all the employees quit. Studio 56, where they actually recorded the song, actually went out of business several years later. So it's a very creepy story. Now, as you guys know, Matt Sorum has a whole history with drugs and stuff, so some people might say, well, I don't really believe that. But apparently this is not the first time it's happened to somebody. So there's a little bit of background on the actual first line of the song. Now, when Guns N' Roses would play Double Talkin Jive during the Use Your Illusion tour, which they played a lot during the Use Your Illusion tour, just before the songs would start, Axl would usually dedicate it to whoever was pissing him off at that point in time. And probably the most best known instance was during a show that Guns played in June of 1992 on pay-per-view. And just before the song, Axl dedicated it to actor Warren Beatty. Now, if you guys know the history of Guns N' Roses around that time, Axl was dating Stephanie Seymour from 1991 to early 1993. And Warren Beatty had been someone that Stephanie Seymour had been involved with before she met Axl, and around the time they played Paris, there was rumors that he was hooking up with her, and of course Axl was very pissed off about it. And he basically dedicated Double Talkin Jive to Warren Beatty before the performance. Now let's talk about some background information about what was going on with Axl around this time. So in the Stephen Davis book, Watch You Bleed, the Saga of Guns N' Roses, he talks about the events just before the Paris concert. And basically, Guns was touring Europe around this time, and Axl was basically, you know, exhausted, and he was really agitated around this time. So Guns played on May 29th, a couple days before the Paris show. They played for almost 3 hours in Cologne, Germany, inserting new songs like Perfect Crime and So Fine into their set. After that, the band got a few days off before their final German show in Hannover. Everyone got some rest except Axl Rose, who was stewing in his own private hell. He hadn't slept in 3 days and was unable to turn off his stage adrenaline to relax. Axl spent hours on the phone with Stephanie Seymour and he became agitated because she had reported that Warren Beatty had been calling her. There was also some friction within Guns over Axl's refusal to attend sound checks, where Doug Goldstein often stood in for the singer. Axl's excuse was that his throat was fragile and that he had to protect his vocal cords. Slash was also beginning to worry about the extravagant expenses the band was running up, as Goldstein had to sign off on Axl's every wish and whim. Slash had heard that the horror stories of big rock bands finishing huge tours that didn't make any real money in the end, and he didn't want this to happen to his band. Axl Rose, still sleepless and totally exhausted, snapped in Hannover. The band made it on stage on time to general astonishment and roared into the first tour songs. Then Axl sat down on the drum riser and just stared. Sullenly at 60,000 rock fans, the other Guns looked at each other. Nervously, Axl wouldn't say what was wrong. He didn't say a word. The stage monitors and Axl's teleprompters were rechecked and found to be working. Excruciating minutes went by, nothing. Then Axl got up, walked to the front of the stage, and slipped down into the security pit. He looked hard at some of the kids up front, then got back on stage and sat down again. He eventually restarted the show, but now he was in a black mood. He scolded the crowd for not singing loud enough on Heaven's Door, then he introduced Sweet Child as a song about getting fucked in the ass with a Coke bottle. He used the song's long screaming coda to deliver chilling howls of human agony and invisible torments that ripped at his psyche. Then he threw down the microphone and walked off. There was no encore that night, and Axl left for the next gig in Paris ahead of the band. So in June 1992, Axl and Izzy had appeared with the Rolling Stones 3 years earlier on a massive pay-per-view television concert. So as you guys know, the actual concert that was filmed in Paris, France, which you've seen all over YouTube, was filmed on June 6th, and it was a pay-per-view live concert. It was promoted everywhere. I think it was shown in over 20 countries or so. They had the guys from Aerosmith, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. They had Lenny Kravitz, and they had English guitar hero Jeff Beck. So Guns basically arrived in Paris on June 4th. Axl doesn't show up to the sound check, as it was mentioned in Slash's book. Axl instead stayed in his hotel suite, getting crazy, according to Stephen Davis. Stephanie Seymour had promised to come to Paris, and he was counting on her for being there for the big broadcast, but she hadn't arrived, and he was having trouble getting through to her. He was madly jealous because of a story in the New York gossip columns that she'd been seen with Warren Beatty in a Manhattan restaurant the week before. And that's what led to Axl doing that rant that you guys all know at the Paris concert before Double Talkin Jive. This wasn't the first time Axl dedicated this song to somebody. The other best-known instance was just after Izzy Stradlin rejoined the group. So in 1993, around late March, Gilby Clarke broke his wrist in a motorcycling accident during a charity race. And there were some dates that Guns were committed to playing, including some shows in Israel, Greece, Turkey, and 2 shows in Milton Keynes in Europe, which was in the UK. And those shows were in jeopardy, but at the last minute, they were able to get Izzy to fill in for Gilby, and they played the 5 shows, and then Izzy left, and there was some sort of bad blood between the band and Izzy. And every subsequent show after Milton Keynes, pretty much Axl would dedicate Double Talkin Jive to Izzy. Now, if you guys have read any of the interviews with Izzy after he played these shows, or even read some of the forums, the rumor is a lot of the disputes and anger between the band, most importantly Axl and Izzy, had to do over money. I guess Izzy was owed some money that Guns hadn't paid yet, and he agreed to do the shows if Guns would pay him the money he was owed. As Guns N' Roses saw it, I think they believed that Izzy was taking advantage of his situation because they desperately needed a rhythm guitarist and he was available to fill in, but maybe he asked for more money than what they thought he was worth. And there was also some rumors that Izzy's guitar was turned down during those 5 shows, and there's a lot of misinformation. It's hard to verify what the truth is about those shows. So Axl did do a rant in 2002 when he was touring with his version of Guns N' Roses, where he said that Izzy would be playing a different song in a different key, and every time he'd go back to his amp, they'd turn it up, and then every time he'd walk away from the amp, they'd turn it down. And he said this was especially happened in one show they played in Tel Aviv, Israel in 1993. So I've linked to it down below for you guys to check out. Now, Axl also dedicated Double Talkin Jive to Metallica during a 1993 show in Sacramento. He actually dedicated, more importantly, to Lars Ulrich. As you guys know, they had done a co-headlining tour the previous summer, and apparently Axl was not happy when he saw Metallica's documentary, A Year and a Half in the Life of, where they mock Axl's tour writer, they make fun of Guns N' Roses, and then James Hetfield did an interview with Rolling Stone where he said he wasn't really impressed touring with Guns N' Roses and how Axl's behavior, wasn't very productive on the tour. So, and then, during the Chinese Democracy era of Guns N' Roses, Double Talkin Jive wasn't really played live. It wasn't brought back until Slash and Duff rejoined the band. And then finally, guys, I'm going to leave you with a acoustic demo of Double Talkin Jive. This is actually just the acoustic guitar that plays at the end of the song. That's actually really cool, so you guys should go check it out. That does it for the look back at Double Talkin Jive. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That does it for today's video. Thanks for watching. And as always, guys, make sure you subscribe for the latest Guns N' Roses news. Take care.